Hello YouTube, today I have another Parkitect tutorial going over some Blender tips and tricks. So, jump right into it. The first tip is where to get cool models. So, I like Sketchfab, there's lots of nice models here. And since the winter, I decided to search for a snowmobile and just want to check downloadable. And then you can go through these, and if they have a little download symbol, you can get those, and if they have the money symbol, then you have to buy that. So this one looks cool. Spin it around, and so you can see how many triangles there are. You typically want to prop around 5,000 triangles, but you can go a little higher. You can always test it out, see how it performs on your computer, and then just credit the model creator. The name's right there, and then you can download it. And it offers in a few different formats. So I already downloaded that and can load it right into Blender in our Parkitect mod template. There we go. Alright, so let's rename that. And the first tip is hit tab to edit and then scale the model, not the object. So that'll make it not import strangely. When you load it into Unity, it won't change sizes if you enable resizing in the mod. And just to give an example of that, if we go to object scale, so we can actually see here already has been scaled probably when it was exported, so we want to try to fix that. So we can just apply all transforms and zero that out with just Control A. Alright, so go back, let's try to make this about the right size for our peep to write it. Spin that around, hold Control to snap the angle, and just put our guy right up there. Alright. Adjust it a little more. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, so the next tip is working on the models. So the first thing I like to do, since we have a symmetrical model, is select everything, go over here to the knife tool, but you hold down and then you can bisect it. And with everything selected, you drag and you make a line. And then you have some options here. So we'll say 0. So if I put this to 0.5, it's going to jump over here. So we'll put out the mid plane and it's going to cut it in half. And then we just want to zero out the normals. So if this was 0.5, we had an angle. So 0. And then we can just delete half of it. Alright, and then we go over to our object and we're going to add a mirror modifier on the x-axis, just like that. And so that makes it so when we're working on one side, we don't have to repeat all our changes on the other side. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is add our custom material. There you go. And we'll jump in here, we'll select all, we'll hit U to unwrap to optimize it a bit. I'm going to scale it down. And just to get started, make it all one color. Okay. That's a bit hard to tell what's going on though, so we can go to grayscale. And first thing you notice is these blue lines, those are the sharps. So we can select all and hit shade smooth, but those sharps are still there. We can also go to the object data properties, clear normal data. So now nothing's really smooth, there's still the sharps, but then you have this auto smooth and you can adjust the angle. So that kind of lets you tweak it a bit. Yeah, that looks alright to start. We can also come in here, select some of these edges that seem a little out of place. Right click, clear sharp. So that's another way to smooth things out. Get rid of that as well. Another tip, especially if you import some more detailed models, is there might be a lot of polygons in places that aren't important. So like here, and we can just select that with Control L. So this just selected the whole object, but we can narrow that down a few different ways. So you could select by sharps, so that only goes to the extent of this blue line. You can also come in here, select some of those faces, and then say select linked flat faces, and then you adjust the angle. That's a really handy one. Once you have that selected, you can use the decimate tool to simplify it, and it's just a ratio out of 1. So you can clean that up like that. You can also use the beautify tool to just sort of clean up the lines. This one wasn't too bad, that can be handy to adjust the geometry. Another trick is these thin objects. So you can see you have this glass, when you look at it from behind, it's invisible. And the reason for that is normals. So to make that show up, you turn on backface culling. So see it? And in Unity, that's just how it's rendered with backface culling on. So if it's just a single flat plane, it won't show up. So the trick there is select it. And if this was something you're not going to see from the other side, like for example this mirror, if we zoom into the mirror, you can see it's invisible, but we're not going to see it from that direction. But sometimes they import it wrong, so you can just recalculate normals, and then there's a toggle and you can flip the direction. For the glass, we'll just select it, and you can extrude it and give it a thickness. And I think in this case we actually want this. There you go, extrude. Okay, that's looking good. Alright, another trick is if you wanted more polygons here, you could instead subdivide, chop that up a bunch. So that might give you some options if you wanted to start, shaping this a little differently. Another trick is if we go back over to that bisect tool, change it back to knife. Let's say we want to add like a cool decal on this. You can choose an angle that's about normal, and then you just start drawing. And so we could add like a lightning bolt, and the red dots are where it's going to cut it and add lines. And then we can just, if we go back here, select those faces and assign it a new color, and then it appears on both sides like that. All right, and that's all the tricks I have for you today. The last one is just always remember when you export your object, you're going to want to apply the transform so that the scale comes into Unity correctly. All right, happy modding.